Hey everyone, this is Summer with Simple Crochets by Summer Danae, and I'm going to show you guys how to do a granny square. This is the thing that I learned how to crochet on. My mom taught me how to crochet maybe when I was a freshman in high school. Around that time, I can't remember. But this was the first thing she taught me. After she taught me how to chain, we just went straight for the granny square. So it's pretty impressive that we didn't just start with single crochet or anything like that. So as you can see, these are Christmas colors, and I didn't really plan that. This project on my left has 4 rows. It's worked from the center out, and this one only has 3. So what you can do with these is you can make a bunch of little squares and sew or crochet them together, or you can make one giant square that just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and just make a blanket out of that completely. You can use the squares to be the size of a pillow. That's kind of fun. The options really are endless. I can't decide if I like to change it up with sewing different squares together or just one big giant square changing colors that makes different stripes. But I've done both and I enjoy it. The materials you are going to need basic as before, just some Red Heart Super Saver, good standby yarn. I do these in acrylic because I do most of my blankets and stuff that's worn, that kind of thing. Stuff that's not for the kitchen, usually acrylic. And I will be using an eye hook. I know that's kind of out of focus. And I have one right here. Yay! And then my handy dandy yarn needle. These are made by Clover, and it's got a little hooked end. It really helps the yarn go through your project when you're weaving in your tails. The metal, it slides so well. I don't hate weaving in my tails as much as I used to. And a pair of scissors. You don't need any stitch markers, which is kind of nice. And something else that's pretty cool about this project is that it's worked in the round. So you work from the center and you finish a row and then you work another row and another row. So that's pretty cool in that you can go forever and ever and ever and it will be a square. So whenever you run out of yarn or it is the length or width, whatever that you'd like, you can be done. So versus having to plan a baby blanket or something with the appropriate width, you kind of have to plan ahead versus this, you don't. It's pretty nice. And something else, it only requires double crochets, slip stitches, and chains. You can kind of see the chains are in the spaces, and then slip stitches are what you use to join the row, almost like any other crochet project. Another cool thing about this is it goes fairly quickly because you're working in the space instead of into stitches, which is pretty nice. So it goes really, really fast. Let me see if I'm forgetting anything. If you want to make a baby blanket, you're probably going to need about 3 of these guys. This is the 7-ounce size. So, 21 ounces of whatever yarn. But again, if you only have 2, see how big your square gets and see what happens. And if you like it, yay! And if you don't, keep going. There are all sorts of different blanket sizes for different things. Loveys, car seat blankets, stroller blankets, that kind of thing. I would say 3, but you never know because I really haven't made a blanket with this stitch in quite some time. Let's get going. I'm going to put this red to the side. I started using red, but it films really bright and weird, so it gets to go to the side. So we're going to be doing this color. So you're going to start with a slip knot. The way I make my slip knot is I make a little X like this. And then I go under this piece and grab that guy. And then you pull it tight. Okay, I'll show you one more time. All right, I wrap it around my fingers like this and make a little X. And then I go under this loop and grab the guy on top. and pull him through. It's the way I was taught. I need to look up a better way. I think the Crochet Crowd has a really cool way where you like move the loops. So I need to go see how he does it or they do it and maybe borrow from them. But if this is confusing, you can easily find another YouTube video on how to do a slip knot. So you are going to chain 4. You chain by yarning over and pulling it through the loop on your hook. You're going to want to keep things pretty loose. This is a forgiving project because you're working in spaces and not into individual stitches, but still it's always good to keep it loose. So again, you're going to make 4 chains. That's 1, yarn over, 2, yarn over, 3, yarn over, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. You count the bumps, you don't count what's on your hook, and you don't count the knot. I think we're out of focus. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a little ring out of these. We're going to kind of do this. So what we're going to do is we are going to skip these 3 and we're going to go into here. You can kind of split it however you want to, but the way that most people do is they go in, there's 3 pieces in the chain. Let me see if I can get closer. You go in here and you have 1 piece of yarn on bottom and then 2 on top. But you pretty much just go straight in and whatever happens, happens. So you go in, you're going to yarn over and come back out. Now this is just going to be a slip stitch. So from here, you just pull what's on your loop, on your hook, right here, through this guy. And that's a slip stitch. So now you've got kind of a ring. Now it's not super big, and of course it's not going to open for me. There we go. So you can see it's kind of tiny, but yarn is stretchy, especially acrylic, which is what this is. So trust me that you're going to be able to get a whole lot of stuff in here. In fact, this is how a lot of hats, ooh, hey there. This is how a lot of hats get started. If you don't want to use the magic ring, the magic ring can be pretty scary for a beginner, so don't worry about it. This method is great, and even if it does leave a little bitty hole, where am I at? In your project, it's pretty impressive that we got all of that into those 4 chains, huh? So even if it leaves a hole at the top of the hat that you're making, it's fine. No one's gonna freeze to death or whatever. And you can always just cover it with a pom-pom and call it a day. Or just, yeah, leave the hole and no one's gonna mind because you made them a hat. Okay, so here we go. So now we've got this ring, trust me, and then we're gonna chain 3. You're gonna chain 3 at the beginning of every row, and that's gonna count as your first double crochet. 1, 2, 3. And the reason why, it's because it's about the same height as a double crochet. So this particular pattern is done in little clusters of 3 doubles. 1, 2, 3. So it's all little clusters of 3 doubles. So if that first chain 3 is going to count as a double, then we only need 2 to complete the first cluster. So we're going to do 2 double crochets into this little hole. Trust me, it's a hole, I promise. So to do a double, yarn over, go in, pray, there it is, somewhere, yeah, there we go, we found it. Yarn over, come back out. Now you've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now, and you're going to have to do this quite a bit. You might want to just scooch this double to be close to that chain 3. And you can see that there's a little bit of a gap. It's not perfect, but a few things are. So that's going to count as our first double. And here's a second double, and we're going to do another one. Yarn over, go in, yarn over, come back out, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Give me some more yarn. Okay, so now we have our first little cluster. Some people call these granny clusters, 3 double crochet clusters, all sorts of things. But that's what we got here. Man, blurry. There we go. Very exciting. And the whole, he's kind of realized his destiny that he's going to be a ring for us after all. So now what we're going to do is we are going to chain 2 to create a corner. 1, 2, and we're going to do another cluster of 3 doubles in the ring. Yarn over, go in, yarn over, come back out, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go in, yarn over, come back out, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go in, yarn over, come back out, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So now we have, and I'm going to scooch because we got to have room. Scooch. So we have blurry. A cluster of 3, another cluster of 3, and as you can see, we're going to have 4 all the way around. So I'm going to work quickly, but trust me, I'm going to do another chain 2 in each of the corners and then 3 doubles. Chain 2, double, double, double. Okay, scooch. Chain 2. All right. Double. Whoops, just kidding. All right, start over. Double, double, double. Okay. I'm going to adjust my camera. Maybe. Okay. So now we kind of have this little 4-sided clover situation. I'm going to chain 2 for the other corner. And now I'm going to attach it to this first stitch. This chain 3, he counts as our first double. So I'm going to do a slip stitch into the top of the chain. So I'm going to show you where we're headed. Get all close here. So 1, 2, 3 chains, because this is the top of the second double. And that's not, we don't have any business there right now. We want to go into this right here, that third chain. So like we did before to make the loop, we're going to go in here. Just kind of split it however you want to. Be consistent. I like to do it with 2 pieces on top and then 1 on the bottom. And then this is a slip stitch, so we're just going to yarn over and I'm going to pull it through both of these. You can do it in 1 move or you can do it in 2 moves. It's whatever. But you're only going to yarn over once and then make sure he gets through that one too. So now you have a cute little square. For the sake of my yarn not being confusing, I'm going to trim this tail. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pause and sew him in. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I realized that this might be helpful for you to see. So I've got my yarn loaded. And I'm going to just go kind of under these stitches. Something you can do in the very beginning is you can just do your doubles over this yarn. You can kind of put your tail behind where your chains are. That's a little complicated for a beginner project. And with this awesome metal needle, weaving in your tails is easy peasy. Oops. So if your tail's too short, I do this all the time. I just put my needle where it's going to go and then I thread it. Very exciting. And that's good enough for me. So I'm going to trim it. There we go. That way that piece of string isn't going to be in your field of vision. That way you won't get confused with all these little pieces of green string all over the place. So back to business. So we've got this little 4-sided tiny square. He's very cute. Now we have to get, since I told you guys in the very beginning we are going to work in the spaces, I have to scooch him all the way over to here, to this space, without making it obvious. So I'm going to do 3 more slip stitches. I'm going to do 1 in here, here, and then in this hole. So I'll show you. You go under this stitch, yarn over, and again we're going to pull through both. Doo-doo. And I'm going to do it again on this one. Yarn, go in, yarn over, and pull through both. But we're not in the hole yet, and that's where I want to be. So I'm going to do it again into the hole. Yarn over, and then I'm going to pull it through the one on my hook. Now we are where we want to be. So we are going to do round 2 and make the corners in each corner. I'll show you what I mean. Remember in the beginning we chain 3 at the beginning of every row. 1, 2, 3, and that's going to count as our first double. So I'm going to do 2 more doubles. 1, 2, and I'm going to scooch. So I've got some more room. Now for the corners we chain 2. Now I'm going to do 3 more doubles. 1, 2, 3. Okay, pretty cool. Now this is the side edge, so I'm going to chain 1. There are a few different ways of doing the granny square method, so if you're like, that's not how I learned, that's fine. However you learned is probably super awesome, so don't let me confuse you. Just whatever you do, be consistent. So chain 1. Now I'm going to do another corner situation in here, which is going to be 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, scooch, 1, my nose itches, sorry, 2, 3. Ta-da! We got 2 corners made. So I'm going to chain 1 for the edge. Now, you're going to get super bored, but I'm going to go ahead and do these corners without you. I'm going to do another 3 clusters, chain 2, 3 clusters, chain 1, 3 clusters, chain 2, 3 clusters, chain 1, and I will meet you back here, okay? You get busy, I'll get busy, I'll be right back. Okay, so I've done all my clusters in the corners with my chain 2 on the corners and my chain 1 on the edges, and I've done my chain 1 up here, and now we have to join it. The joining is the same as when we joined below. Excuse me, we're going to do a chain, just kidding, a slip stitch into the 3rd chain right here, and then we're going to slip stitch along until we get to the corner again. So go in, 1, 2, 3, yarn over, pull through both of them, go into the second one, yarn over, doot, yarn over, go in, pull through what's on your hook, but we want to get to the edge or the corner hole, go in, yarn over, and pull through what's on your hook. So now we're here. It's very, very similar to everything from here on out, except for there's one difference. We have this extra hole here that we've never seen before. So, like the beginning of every row, chain 3, 2 doubles to make that 3, that cluster of 3, chain 2 in the corner, I work fast because you already know all this. Old news. Okay. So we got my 3, chain 2, 3. And we're going to chain 1 because we're on an edge. And now this guy, we've never seen an edge hole before. We're just going to work one group of 3 doubles. Okay? 1, 2, 3. More yarn. Easy peasy. Chain 1 because we're still on an edge. And now we're going to do a 3 cluster, chain 2, 3. I'm going to pause, be right back. Okay, so now we're here. I finished that corner. And this edge hole right here, again, we're going to work just a 3 double crochet cluster. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so what we're going to do from here on out is nothing new. I'm going to chain 1 and put a cluster of 3, chain 2, cluster of 3, oh, forgive me, chain 1, cluster of 3, chain 2, cluster of 3, chain 1, cluster of 3, chain 1, and so forth. Okay, I will be back while you do that. Okay, so we've gone all the way around. We've got 2 clusters with a chain 2 in between on every corner. And then on the edge, we have 1 cluster of 3. So I'm at the end of the round. And this guy is now the same size as this one. They're both 3 rows. Ta-da! And I'm going to show you how to finish off. And then after that, I'm going to show you how to change colors. I've got this guy that we're going to use. So we've chained 1, and I'm going to slip stitch into this 3rd chain. Go in, yarn over, and pull through both. It's best to really, you can stop here and cut your yarn, or you can go to the end. I think it really is cleaner. This one I didn't go to the end. I stopped at the first one. But really, tomato, tomato, you can hardly see it. But I'll show you what it looks like if you go all the way to the end. I'm just scooching along as if I were going to start another row. And then you just cut the yarn here and weave in your tails. And I will show you how to do that in just one moment, but that's where you would end. Now, if you want to start a new color, because if you were to do, you can do a bunch of squares that are bigger with 2 rows of color A, 2 rows color B, all sorts of things. You really should look it up online. The possibilities are awesome. So I'm going to show you how to change colors. Get my gray out. Figure out wherever there we are. Okay. So I'm going to pull this back out to where we're here. We're not quite to the hole yet. And I'm going to go in, but I'm not going to pull green. I'm going to pull gray. Okay. It's a lot to manage with just 2 hands, but I think you can do it. So I'm going to grab the gray, and it's a slip stitch, so I'm going to pull through both. So here we are. Now I'm just going to pretend that it's a normal day and keep going with my row. So again, I'm going to chain 3 and then do 2 doubles to complete that cluster. Chain 2, scooch, scooch, and then do 3. 1, 2, 3. See? So that's how you change colors. There's all sorts of really cool patterns you can do. If you make the inside pink and then this part green, it kind of looks like leaves. Really, it's it's awesome. Granny square has been around for a really long time, so people have played around with it a lot and have come up with some really cool things. So I really super recommend that you go online, Pinterest, Ravelry, Google, and put in granny square and see what happens. Granny square crochet. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to remove this gray. Bye-bye. And then I'm going to finish off like I told you. So we've slip stitched to the end. Let's see if this will go well. Okay, I'm going to cut to where I have about 6 inches left. You always want more. What is this? You always want more yarn than you may think. That way you can sew in your tail. So your square's done. And now, let's see. So this is the back side. Back on my left, and here's the front. You can see how they're still crochet. They're similar, but it's kind of, you can obviously see this is the front. It looks just a little prettier. So on the back side, I'm going to weave in my tail. Maybe go under here. And I really like going under these stitches because it's just one big tube. It's nice. You just kind of shimmy along. Do. And go this way. And as you know, you kind of go up, down, back, forth, whatever strikes your fancy. Until you reach the end, or until you get bored, or whatever. And then you cut, snip. So with these squares, something that I'm not going to show you today is these two, they're the same size. They're not perfect, they're kind of misshapen. So what you would need to do probably before making a whole blanket out of it is what they call blocking. That's a word that's new to a lot of you guys. So you can look that up on Pinterest or Ravelry as well. Or rather, not Ravelry. I don't think they have any blocking instructions, but they might. And there's all sorts of toys out there, blocking boards and things like that. It just makes your squares more square and the same shape. Because you can kind of see they're not perfect. They have their own little bobbles and bumps and things. So whenever you block them, you'll kind of coerce the yarn into being the same shape. Now the stitches line up. I mean, it's the same number of stitches all the way around, so you can just go for it. In fact, I've been very guilty of doing that, and there's nothing wrong with it. But if you want it perfect, you should block them beforehand. And again, that's a process that we just can't get into today. But a whole lot of fun with this that you can play around with. The possibilities really are endless. If you've got any questions, you can leave that in the comments or you can email me. And I wish you the best of luck, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.